Welcome to episode 140 from the Shed Ends with myself, Theo, and the other Theo. How you doing?
I'm good. I had a Christmas dinner with my old university housemates yesterday, and my Christmas tree finally got delivered this morning. So it definitely feels a lot more Christmassy than I was feeling last week. So slowly getting in the mood now. Maybe just time for some mulled wine
Oh yeah,
today, and then I'll be fully feeling Christmassy. But yeah, I'm doing good. Always good when you pick up 3 points midweek, and
yeah,
you've got another game to look forward to on the weekend. How are you doing?
yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good. Although I did watch something this morning about mulled wine, which you're probably not going to want to hear. But do you know how many sugar cubes or teaspoons? I think they said how many sugar cubes is in one 200 ml of mulled wine.
I don't know, but it's actually probably a good job that I don't drink it to start off. I was just saying it because it would get me in the mood, but I've actually never, I've never been a fan of mulled wine.
It's nice. It is nice.
Yeah, but yeah, probably will put me off when you tell me how much sugar
Five.
goes inside.
5 sugar cubes of that is in there. So for anyone who's a mulled wine drinker, I mean, I do like one, but once you've had one, I think that's enough. I think it really is sweet. It's a sweet sort of you've got to have some sort of pristine teeth to sustain a couple of mugs of it. But no, I'm good apart from that. Like you said, a really good convincing win in the glorified friendly, as I called it yesterday, against Astana, which we'll talk about. But as always, please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you like the video. You get involved in the discussion if you're here as part of the live stream as well. And of course, the Linktree link is in the description. So make sure you hit that before you leave to go and follow the social accounts on Instagram and Twitter and Blue Sky if you want to be one of the new followers on there as well. But Theo, Astana, 3-1. We almost got up. Well, we did get the goal scorers right, but we almost got the lineup right as well. There was a couple of tweaks that we didn't prefer in our lineup than what Maresca did. But what a good performance considering the conditions, the time difference, and all the things that we covered in the preview. Really impressive.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we were kind of like half joking when we were talking about the conditions in the recording 2 days ago, but having watched the game, it was bloody freezing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was minus 11, minus 12 Celsius, and you could just tell by the amount of layers they had. And I think even Renato Viega managed to sneak a snood under his t-shirt, which I think they're banned now from wearing snoods. But yeah, really convincing win given the conditions, giving the kind of lack of maybe first team players that would typically feature in our games, and yeah, really pleased. I feel like it was convincing. It never felt like we were kind of not going to get a result from that game. Marc Guiu scored a couple early on, and then Vega right before half time. I felt like Astana managed to slightly get back into the game, maybe in the second half. Probably the best goal of the game came on their side. That kind of curling shot from their attacking player. But yeah, I was really pleased with the youngsters as well. I thought they all kind of played their part. I think maybe for one really stood out for me, it was Samuel Raksaki in midfield. I think he was the only player we didn't predict in our starting 11. I think we had Harvey Vale in
we did
instead of Raksaki. But other than that, we had exactly predicted the starting 11 that featured Vega left back, Acheampong right back. Again, was really fantastic. Disassi and Tosin, kind of the experienced centre backs in defence. Jorgensen probably wasn't really tested much at all. Then we had Dewsbury Hall again, who's probably got I think he's only got like 22 minutes of Premier League football or something like that. And this is the chance for him to perform, and I thought he done well. And he was alongside Raksaki, Chukwuemeka as well. Only got his first start of the season with Tyreek George right wing, and who was on the other side?
Neto was right. George was left.
Yeah. I think Neto was the one I was unsure he'd even travel, but I think we recorded before they announced the travelling squad, and he looked very sharp as well. And I'm glad I think we took him off at half time or just after half time. Player that maybe you'd want to rest, even though he's suspended for Brentford. You probably want to rest him for the following week of football and the Christmas fixtures. And then it was Marc Guiu in attack who got his 2 goals. I mean, in our previous recording, you kind of did compare him to a bit of like a deer caught in the headlights and a bit kind of like confused or not really experienced in front of goal yet. But I feel like that was probably his best performance in a Chelsea shirt. He was cool, calm, and composed in front of goal. He seemed to really have a bit of kick in him to burst of acceleration as well. And I was pleased with his performance. And Maresca's post-match interview similar, kind of like there's a lot of players ahead of Marc Guiu, the likes of Jackson, the likes of Nkuku, but he can just keep doing what he's doing currently, and that's performing when he is given an opportunity. And fortunately, he took his chance, got his 2 goals, and helped us cement a comfortable cushion going into halftime, and then 3 important points. We said like it's not important how you get the points, which team or which players get you the 3 points, but 3 points is 3 points, and that's what we got in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, it was always going to be difficult. I think not just because of the conditions, but I think because of the fact that we had left a lot of the first team players, even some of the players that had played in the previous Conference League games, previous to the game against Astana. It was always going to be difficult for these players to. For me personally, it was always going to be difficult to see how well they gelled together. And Acheampong hadn't played a senior, competitive game up until September recently, so even having him be able to play for the length of time that he did. I think he did play a development game back in November actually, but it's still a lot of game time that he's missed. Like you said, Raksaki as well. Carney Chukwuemeka, another one that hasn't really been given minutes this season. So for me, it was more about match fitness, about how well they would perform and how long they could last in terms of the performances. But I think the first 25, 30 minutes, I think I said to you, it was so easy for us. Astana couldn't keep the ball. We were able to have time on the ball, find space, dictate the possession, what we wanted to do in that game very, very easily. And the goals are really good. I think, Marc Guiu, the first goal was really, really good. Almost made it himself, took on the defender and beat him easily and then slotted the ball in. Second one, a bit scrappy, but still, really good goal. And then obviously Renato Viega, very strange celebration, but still a really good performance from the team. I thought Acheampong was really, really impressive. Really, really looks like a player that you can see why Maresca, the club, are dying to keep hold of him. We've spoke about him on here before about other clubs that are interested, but really good from him to see that he could get through the game, and Tariq George as well. But I wanted to ask you as well, because I was impressed more so with Axel Dazazi, who kind of went under the radar. He was one of the more senior players, captain of the performance. Where does he go from here? Is this almost where we're going to expect to see him for the remainder of the season, playing in the Conference League, maybe playing against Morecambe in a couple of weeks' time? Or is there a shout that he's slowly building up the trust again from Maresca to put him back into a Premier League squad?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one for him, because he does seem now probably 5th choice centre-back behind Colwell, Fofana, Badiashile, Tosin and then Stasasi. That being said, there's been a few games, I think, at the Vitality against Bournemouth. I think he started that one. He started against Southampton last week as well. So there has been a few chances for him to get Premier League minutes. That being said, he's not our first choice, but he is an option at centre-back and potentially right-back as well at times. I know it's not his preferred position and it's not the fans' preferred position either. They'd rather see Gusto, they'd rather see Acheampong now. But yeah, I feel like he does have experience. He is a player that's been at the club for a season and a half now, which you can't say about a lot of the other players. So I feel like he's maybe got a part to play this season. And then, like I said about Dewsbury Hall and Chukwuemeka, come next summer, it might be a different case where we have a very inflated squad that players return from their loans. Maybe we don't have such regular football or Conference League where we can't afford to rotate as much. So yeah, it's a big debate, but I feel like I've been quite impressed with him when he has played so far this season. Especially in games where we've kind of like controlled it. I feel like he's stayed very composed, and in a game like Astana yesterday, the youngsters, the likes of Raksaki, Tariq George, Acheampong, they were probably relying on a Pedro Neto, a Tosin, a Disasi as the kind of like experienced figures in that team to give them instructions and reorganize the back line. And I've got no doubt that's what the two of them did.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I think we did need to have some of the experience. When the team was officially announced, I was looking and thinking there's no Mudryk, there's no, there's a lot of the players I'd played in the previous games, and I thought we have literally taken a very youthful team here. Acheampong, Harvey Vale, Keanu Dyer also came on yesterday as well to get some minutes under their belt. Richard Elise unfortunately didn't get on. Caden Wilson, another one I was hoping we might see get some time yesterday, but they didn't. I'm sure there'll be opportunities for them in the future. But let's just quickly look at the table in the Conference League, because as we now know, we are now officially, I think, into the final 16. which was a given. Let's be honest. Let's not beat around the bush. We were supposed to be there. But yeah, I mean, top of the table, 5 wins, 21 goals scored, only 4 conceded, which again, not to take anything away from Jurgensen yesterday, but it's almost like we can score goals, but we just can't keep the clean sheets. And that's really, really annoying, really frustrating. But just talk to me about some of the teams that potentially we could face. Obviously, we still have Shamrock Rovers, I think, to play as part of our fixtures anyway. But it's looking really good for us in terms of the Conference League right now.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like I mentioned Legia Warsaw on the previous recording, being the only other team that had a 100% record, and I think they lost last night, if I'm not mistaken, and they conceded their first goal of the competition. So I think we're the only team now that's got a 100% record, 15 points from 5 matches, and I'm sure that will go up to 18 once we play Shamrock Rovers next Thursday. I feel the top teams are probably those 3 or 4 you see after Chelsea's name there. So Vitória Guimarães, Fiorentina, who won 7-0 last night, and Legia Warsaw, who I just mentioned. And then I think in the kind of teams that we could potentially play, that's the teams that rank from 9th to 24th. Because I think the top 8 seeds would play one of the teams that wins in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we can't play Panathinaikos, Heidenheim, or Ghent in that list. But we could potentially play, I think, Copenhagen, who we played, I think, in the Champions League back in 2011.
Yeah.
And they gave Manchester United a bit of headaches last season in the Champions League. Real Betis as well. They're a solid team. La Liga. I think they've got Isco on their books now, so a lot of experience in that team. Istanbul Başakşehir. Yeah, I remember them because I'm sure there's a few ex-Premier League veterans just lurking around there. I think there was another name that I spotted.
I don't want to miss out on Monia because they actually had a really good performance yesterday. I know they've only won 2 out of their 5 games, but I do think Monia are another team that might, if they can qualify, which it looks like they will, they could cause problems.
Yeah, cause problems, and also you can't just consider the opposition. We also got to consider the conditions that you play these teams in, like we saw against Astana yesterday. We don't want to be traveling across Europe, playing in sub-0 degree temperatures on a pitch where the ball is struggling to kind of roll properly because of it's almost frozen. So you do have to consider that. But yeah, some tough games. But I think you called it at the beginning of our kind of league fixtures that we should be winning every single one of them.
Yeah,
and I was a bit unsure because with football, the slightest little blip, you can drop points, and that was other than when we used to play in the Champions League. I think we drew with Maribor once. Yeah. There was another season, I believe, where we drew with. We lost to Dinamo Zagreb under Tuchel, didn't we? Once. So, these type of games,
the away fixture.
You can't always take them for granted. But we've done really well so far to get 5 wins out of 5. But I do expect a level of competition, especially when it gets to 2 legs. You play home and away. It will get more challenging in the knockouts. I had a bit of a fun statistic here when we speak about Astana. I think the UEFA Conference League
doesn't involve Manchester United, does it, by any chance?
It does. Yeah. It does. The last time Astana played an English team in the UEFA club competition is when they played Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's Manchester United, beating them 2-1 in the Europa League in Kazakhstan. So yeah, it kind of just goes to what I said. So bigger teams do struggle sometimes against these opposition. And yeah, that's the picture there for anyone who are watching the YouTube visuals. The scoreline, 2-1, Astana against Manchester United.
What year was that?
It's maybe a good question. I think it was 2018, 2019, maybe.
I just want to check something. I just wanted to see. Here we go. So the lineups that day, I mean, they did have, I was just wondering who they're like. I mean, they had Luke Shaw in the team, Twanzebe, James Garner, Gomez, Jesse Lingard, Chong, the man that is currently in France that we will not name, was up front for them. The bench was a bit iffy, but still, I mean, it goes to show we still took our youth players there, and we still was able to get the 3 points, which, as you said, all that matters in the end. So really impressed, though. Really, really impressed. I feel like this is the tournament that we have to go on and win. And what I think it's doing, especially for some of the players like Marc Guiu, even Pedro Neto, like you said, even though it was a game where he probably didn't want to travel for 8 hours. He didn't want to go and play in minus 11 degrees or whatever it is. He still put in a really good shift, and he didn't almost just take the fact that he was playing against a lesser opposition as an opportunity not to really play. He still played really well. He took it like he was playing prime Barca. So did Carney Chukwuemeka and some of the others. But yeah, this is the tournament that I would be probably more embarrassed if we don't go on to win it. It's the tournament that we have to go on and win, regardless of the other teams we've just spoken about. The squad depth, the amount of money we've spent, the experience that we've got in this team now, the form that we're in. Surely we can't drop the ball on this one. We have to win the Conference League, surely.
Absolutely, yeah. And also the level of motivation and passion that the fans are showing travelling to these destinations to watch the games. There was a fair few Chelsea fans, both amongst the away end and probably the Astana end, who are probably like Chelsea fans living in Kazakhstan. But a fair few made the journey to Almaty, and huge respect to them. And the club actually rewarded them with a little souvenir keyring with the distance that they travelled to, which was a nice little touch. I think a few of them were complaining they'd rather a beer or a free Stamford Bridge ticket, but they've got to make do with the keyring.
I was thinking more of a cup of tea or something, cup of coffee, keep you warm over there.
True.
Just before we move on to the Brentford game, which is Sunday this week, I just wanted to talk to you very quickly about the Legends game that's been announced. I think it's March the 22nd, Anfield. So we're expecting, obviously this is the rivalry. I was speaking to a Liverpool fan about this yesterday. This is a massive rivalry that goes back many, many years. Even really before Jose Mourinho and Rafa Benitez, there was still a bit of rivalry between the two clubs. But I feel like it was, a match was lit that day when, those sort of fixtures were coming up. The Champions League nights, when you think about those games as well. I'll never forget John Arnorisa for a prime example. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to this one. I want to go. I do want to go. Who are you expecting to see from a Chelsea perspective in the team? And I mean, hopefully you can make it up as well. But it should be a really good game, regardless. So I know it's for a good cause as well.
Absolutely, I'm really excited for this one. I'm even tempted to make the journey up from London to Liverpool potentially to watch it. And like you said, it's a heated rivalry. So even though these are retired players, ex-professionals, I still expect them to have a bit of a passion and hunger in their belly to get the victory. And often when these Legend games are organised, they don't just pick a random team to face. It's often due to the historic rivalry that they've had in the past. I think we saw it when we played Bayern Munich at Stamford Bridge last season because of the Champions League final. Madrid recently played Barcelona in a Legends game in Qatar, I believe. Yeah. But in terms of the players that will compete or play, I was going to say for Liverpool, it's got to be Steven Gerrard. He's got to be there somewhere, whether he's manages to get a break, because I think it's during the international break.
Yeah, it is. It's the next one. Yeah. Yeah,
so maybe he'd travel from Saudi or wherever he's living in Bahrain to play this at Anfield. The name you just mentioned, John, on the reserve, Fernando Torres, whether he plays maybe a half for Chelsea and a half for Liverpool. Then in terms of the Chelsea legends, I feel like Gianfranco Zola, Roberto Di Matteo,
Ashley Cole,
John Obi Mikel.
I forgot about him yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I'd love to have seen. I mean, he's back. He's back in management now. He's at Coventry. He doesn't want to injure himself, does he? And saying that, though, I'm pretty sure when Wayne Rooney was somewhere, maybe it was Birmingham City, he played in a Everton Liverpool Legends game quite recently, I think. So, I'm sure there'll be a contract. He might get the green light from Coventry owners to say, yeah, go and have a kick around for 90 minutes.
I think Petr Cech, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, John Terry probably the first one lacing up his boots.
Who would be the striker? Because that's what I was thinking yesterday. Who would be because I don't think we'll get Jobber to come over for it. I did wonder that actually yesterday.
Potentially Hasselbank. You'd probably have Hasselbank up front.
I forgot about him as well.
I'm trying to think now, because I'm trying to remember back to that Chelsea Bayern Legends game who played.
Yeah, Hasselbank was there, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think Hasselbank played. I definitely remember.
Was Petit, Emmanuel Petit, maybe?
I think so, yeah. He might have been
Dennis Wise.
Dennis Wise, Frank Leboeuf, Frank Sinclair. I think Thiago, even that Portuguese midfielder.
Yeah,
for a bit.
maybe.
He played. So there'll be a few surprise names that you won't really think about, like a Paulo Ferreira, maybe.
Babiaro. Yeah.
But yeah, I think probably Joe Cole as well. I think he's like an ambassador
Yeah.
for the club at the
Yeah, he
moment,
is.
and he
He
actually
is.
he played for Liverpool as
He
well.
played for
So
both, maybe, and Torres.
yeah, Torres, yeah,
And that would be interesting. He has to do 45 minutes each half or something. I don't know. Don't know how that would work. But it is all for a good cause. It's raising funds, crucial funds for the Chelsea Players Trust. So yeah, definitely. I think the tickets are on sale very soon. I think they're on sale for Liverpool fans already from today. But I think for Chelsea, they'll be on sale quite shortly. So keep your eyes peeled out for that one. I'm sure might be more entertaining than watching some international football on a Saturday afternoon at 3:00. I think the kickoff is, so one to keep our eyes on. But let's move our attention to Sunday. Brentford, 7 p.m. Stamford Bridge. Can we continue the good form? I mean, we're obviously expecting a completely different lineup to what we got to see last night in Astana. I think they'll all get a day off. It's one thing we didn't mention. I think they flew back straight after the game, but only landed back in London about 6 or 7 o'clock this morning. So I can't imagine any of those will be training. But what's your thoughts going into this game, Sunday? Interesting game against Brentford, who are relatively in some good form, but we should be able to cope with them at Stamford Bridge.
yeah. Really, I think at the start of December we both had Villa and maybe Tottenham being our trickiest fixtures. But I'm actually going to put this one up there, given Brentford's form, given how how kind of like they're able to score with a lot better than even the last few seasons. And also simply because, despite the fact we're at home, we have an awful record against Brentford in the Premier League. We lost against them 2-0 last season, 2-0 the season before, and 4-1 the season before. So that's 3 defeats in a row against Brentford at Stamford Bridge. So I'm really hoping that changes on Sunday. I'm quite optimistic in the way that all those players have had now like 7 days rest since the Tottenham game that will most likely feature. And I think every single player that was in I wouldn't say the match day squad. I mean, every player that started in the 11 would not be starting against Brentford, but I expect the likes of Disasi, Tosin,
Jurgensen on the bench.
Vega to make the bench, yeah. But yeah, tricky game. I think I saw a statistic that Brentford have the best scoring record at what's the stadium called? The G-Tech Community Stadium.
Yeah.
But also struggle to score away from home. So a bit like a Jekyll and Hyde in terms of their scoring form home and away. So that could work in our favour, and we can maybe finally get another clean sheet following on from the Villa game. But yeah, tough game. I think Thomas Frank's a really underrated manager. It's almost like everybody's waiting for him to make that step up to maybe a bigger team, and it's no disrespect to Brentford. But yeah, I'm expecting a tough game, and I think there'll probably just be the one goal between the two teams, should we get a win or should, depending on the result.
I'm quite confident going into this game. Just looking back at their previous fixtures, obviously they beat Newcastle convincingly 4-2. They lose to Villa. They beat Leicester. They drew with Everton. They beat Bournemouth, but it's very inconsistent. And they are sitting ninth in the league, so that clearly tells you that they're not afraid to score goals. But I do think, based on form, based on how we've been playing over the last, and we've had some really difficult fixtures. You look back to the Arsenal game, the Villa game that we didn't think was going to be as easy as it was, the Tottenham game where we came back last weekend. Maresca's got us playing some really good football. And I think one of the good things that you just mentioned was, it's going to be a completely different starting 11 as to what we got to see Thursday night against Astana. I'm confident for this one. I really, really am. It's something that I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it now because I've started to say it. But if we win this game and Liverpool do not win their game against Fulham, we'll be 1 point behind them in the league, with them having still a game in hand, which I think has been moved to February. But the title race conversation might start to grow some legs a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I was in the office this week, and a few Liverpool fans who a couple of weeks ago were saying we're going to win the title comfortably, kind of nudged me and said, you know what, you guys are actually looking quite dangerous now, and I could see they look quite scared in a way. So yeah, it seems like opposition fans are slowly putting Chelsea into that kind of title contender bracket, but Chelsea fans I still think are staying quite level grounded and kind of realistic, thinking this is only Maresca's first season. This is only the first time a lot of these players play Premier League football or play football for Chelsea. I feel like it's a long-term plan, or at least a plan for the next 2 or 3 seasons. And I think this season the goal was maybe to get top 6, forget even top 4. So we're definitely overachieving there. But yeah, I feel like you said, if the more we win our games and the more teams around us drop points, maybe then we can start to have that discussion. And I think a lot of football fans and Premier League football fans say it. It's whoever's top of the table at Christmas is usually the team that it's their title to lose after that, isn't it?
So I'm trying not to get too excited, but I am getting to that point in the season where I always say after Christmas, you get those busy, the games where it feels like your team's playing every other day, over Christmas. Get those games out the way. Start looking into January. And again, I go back to the point that I was trying to make earlier about the Conference League, I suppose, is that some of these other teams, you look at Liverpool, Arsenal, City, they're going to have some really difficult Champions League fixtures, whereas we're going to be taking our reserve squad to go and play a potential lesser opponent in the Conference League. So it gives us more time to recuperate some of the players that are going to be playing in the Premier League and not having them travel as far as maybe the likes of Liverpool and Arsenal will have to do in the Champions League. So that could take a knock-on effect. And, you look at Villa, they might drop off. Forest, the 5th at the moment. You'd expect them to drop off this season. So I generally would take top 4 this season. I generally don't have us anywhere near. I didn't have us anywhere near the second place coming into this busy Christmas period at all. So Maresca's done wonders. I think we have to credit Maresca a lot for what he's done over the time. I just don't want us to have a dip at this point in the season. Maybe after Christmas, but if we had one now, I feel like it could undo all the good things that Maresca's done in the last 5 months or so.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no margin for error, and I think that's just evident now when you look at the table. I think there's only 8 or 7 points that separate second from maybe 9th or 10th. So if you can't really afford many slip ups, and like you mentioned, a lot of those teams that we're competing against at the top of the table, I think will have tough Champions League games even in January, because I think the Champions League goes up to January now, and they're not going to be able to rotate as much as we have. They're going to probably still field their best 11, especially teams like City who are struggling now to even secure qualification in the Champions League. They're going to probably field their best 11, and I think they have a tough game next week or after Christmas against Paris, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of kind of football over Christmas and even in the New Year. But we're just hoping that those teams who play in the Conference League can also maybe field them against the likes of Morecambe and in the FA Cup. And I think the beauty of the FA Cup is it replaces the Premier League fixtures, the early stages at least, on the weekend. I think once you get to the quarters and semis, I think those are midweek fixtures. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one. But yeah, really looking forward to the football, and I'm confident that we can get through this Christmas period with the depth we have in our team as well.
Yeah, I did say I think we had 10 fixtures in December. I might have just made that up, but I definitely said we should not be dropping any points at all throughout this December period. But I do agree this is a difficult game, although I'm just looking at the stats here. So they've only kept 1 clean sheet this season, Brentford. They're currently 16th in that table of clean sheets. We're respectively a bit better in 6th, but I sense there could be goals in this game. And Mbeumo, 9 goals this season. Cole Palmer's on 11. I feel like the 2 key players for me that we need to really keep an eye on for Brentford is going to be Mbeumo, Damsgaard, another one who's, I think he's on, I think it's 5 assists he's got this season. We've got to keep those 2 quiet, I think.
Wissa as well.
Wissa, another one. I'm trying to think if they've got any injuries. I know Janjelt's out. And Jensen, I think, are the only 2. We've only got Mudryk, and who might be back, and James Fofana, I think, are our only injuries, I think.
Yeah, I think Felix didn't travel to...
he didn't.
I mean, wasn't included for... They didn't really give the reason why.
I can tell you the reason why. He didn't want to play in -11.
he's Portuguese. He's used to the sunshine and the warm weather. Yeah. But I don't blame him. But yeah, I expect him to be back for Sunday's game, whether he starts or he comes off the bench or he's in the snatch day squad. But yeah, he'll definitely be involved.
Yeah, let's just before we do our predictions for the game, let's just talk about Cassidy, who I think the news has come out this morning that he's potentially they're going to initiate talks. So I think is it Monza
Monza, yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like he.
19th in Serie A, Monza.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's a good call. I mean, we spoke about who was it? Carney Chukwuemeka. I think we spoke about the other day in terms of him maybe getting a loan, especially to Italy as well. I'm not annoyed at this. I think he needs game time. He needs moments where he can build up his confidence and play a bit more. I don't think the Leicester loan potentially suited him as much. I think we recalled him, didn't we? I think in the end, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he did a season or 6 months at Reading the previous year. Then we recalled him in January for the 6
that was
months
it. Yeah, that was it.
At Leicester, because I think Lavia got injured and maybe we panicked and we needed an extra body in midfield.
Yeah,
potentially.
What's your thoughts on the move in terms of potentially going to Italy and hopefully getting a bit more game time than he's been getting at Chelsea?
Yeah, we mentioned a fair amount about our midfield options on the previous recording where we spoke about Dewsbury Hall and Chukwuemeka, and then literally as soon as we ended the recording, I opened Twitter and Fabrizio Romano was saying that if one midfielder leaves Chelsea in January, it's going to be Casadei. And then now the news is breaking out that he might get a loan move to 19th place Serie A side Monza. Obviously, he's Italian, so he'll fit in. He'll blend in well there. I'm remembering Ampadu went on loan a few times, I think, to Italy, to La Spezia and to Venezia. And I'm not sure how well he did in terms of like adapting to the culture, the language. But I think the fans really liked him out there. But in terms of Casadei, he's obviously Italian, so he'll know the league, he'll know the language, he'll know the opposition as well.
Yeah.
So it could be a good move for him. And realistically, is he going to get much football in the next 6 months at Chelsea? Probably not, as the Conference League games get a bit more important and tougher as well. And the only games I can see him getting minutes in are probably like the Shamrock games, the Morecambe games. I mean, unless we have like a huge injury crisis in midfield, Lavia, Enzo, Caicedo all get injured, I don't really see where we get the game time. So it could be a good move for him. But I also had such high expectations for him, especially after that under 21, I think, European tournament where he was the top goal scorer of Italy and player of the tournament. But it could be a chance for him as well to maybe either put himself in the shop window or maybe prove to Maresca, like, I can do it. Like, just give me the football now and the game time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I hope it materializes and it becomes a good move for him. He's still 21, so he's still got a lot of years ahead of him in terms of his footballing career, and I think he's proven when he's played for us that he's got something about him. The same with Carney Chukwuemeka. I think we have signed a lot of players in very similar areas, and I think even the way that Maresca's got his team playing, he likes to invert his fullback, so that again takes away an opportunity maybe for one of these players to occupy that midfield position when you've got Gusto dropping into midfield, or Reece James, or whoever, Cucurella, Vega as well. So I think it does take away the element of how much is he going to actually play for Chelsea this season. I don't know much about Monza in terms of their season that they've had. If they're 19th, then of course it doesn't seem like they're having a very good season. But I think for him, on a personal, possible selfish point of view, it's probably a good place to go and get some development. Like you said, he's Italian, so he's going to understand the league, the culture, everything already. It shouldn't be a problem for him. I'm all for it. I'd rather he goes away and does that. I said to you yesterday about Harvey Vale. I'd love to see Harvey Vale go out and do something very similar, because I think he's that good. To keep him in the development squad, I get it a little bit, but he needs to step up now as well. And I think Cesare Casadei's in the same boat as Harvey Vale as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I know we're going to talk about our predictions soon, but I did want to ask you about Postecoglou's comments about Timo Werner. I'm not sure you got to see those.
I did a little bit. I think, I'm paraphrasing, but I feel like he said something like he's not good enough, or he expects him to be one of the better players because he's a bit more experienced, and it's just not good enough. And it was along those lines, I think. I haven't read the full sort of quotes, but...
Yeah, it's exactly that. And he got hooked off at half time. And, he's a player that's got good work rate, but maybe his confidence quite low at the moment. And it almost feels like we're seeing the same Timo Werner at Tottenham than we saw at Chelsea. And maybe Tottenham fans are finally seeing it now that he's here for a full season and not a 6-month loan. But I don't really like seeing that from the manager. It feels very kind of like throwing him under the bus.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
But to me, it's bad management. To me, it's really bad management, because I think if you're a good manager, you have those conversations in the dressing room, privately, internally. You come out and you don't even make a big fuss out of it. But it kind of tells me that he's not a confident manager enough to just say, look, maybe I got it wrong. It doesn't even have to mention anything. To single out a player for me, when you could do that to Son, you could do that to Brendan Rodgers sometimes, you could do that to James Maddison, you could do that to Pedro Porro, you could do that to Destiny Udogie. Do you know what I mean? You could do it to any of those players because Spurs just don't look like a very good team. I do worry about Werner though. Well, don't worry about him, he's not my player, but I think the mentality of playing in this country just doesn't seem to fit well with him. I think back to Morata, the same as well. He just didn't seem to gravitate towards it. I don't know if it was just the pressure of the league or whatever. I don't know.
Fragility as well, maybe.
Yeah. I just don't know what it is, but certain players just don't do well playing in this league, and I think Werner's one of them.
Absolutely. One thing it does tell me as well is I've always liked Postecoglou. I like this way he kind of comes across in interviews and how he kind of like really, for him at least, he brought this kind of like feel-good factor around the club, and when he defended Richarlison last season. But what this is telling me is that he's a man under pressure, and he's trying to find excuses now maybe for trying to protect his own kind of like case and his future at the club, and he's trying to find reasons or people to blame. So I think that's really, really telling that he's under pressure now and he's starting to feel it.
And also as well, I think what didn't help, he put himself under that pressure by saying he always wins something in his second season. I mean, that was just a stupid thing to come out and say. And then I think the problem, even going back to last Sunday's game, was, you're 2-0 up. You've got to see that game out. If you're playing against a team that you're almost competing for those European spots come, April, May, the end of the season, you're always going to need to see those games out 2-0, 3-0, 1-0. Even if you've got to park the bus and play a low block for the rest of the game, do that. To lose it in that way and then to kind of come out the week after or a couple of days after and only get a draw against Rangers, who actually played really well yesterday. Singling out Timo Werner, I think for me was a bit, we're rubbish, but so look at him over there. He's the reason we're rubbish. That's not good management at all.
Yeah, unless he's trying to hint like get me new signings in January, but
there's a way of doing it, and that's not it. Big up Chimera in the chat. Let's move on to predictions. My favourite part of the podcast. I'm trying to think who. Is it self-explanatory? I suppose is the question I'm going to ask you. Possibly not. I think we might see a couple of changes.
In terms of the lineup, I think it'll be. Yeah. I think the right back now is a big question mark we have. Is whether we stick with Caicedo as the inverted right back, or do we bring in Gusto again? Yeah,
I wasn't really impressed with Caicedo against Spurs until, I think I said last week, until he dropped into the midfield and we brought on Gusto. I don't think he coped well. And well, obviously we spoke about the red card, potential red card that he could have got. I think we keep him there. Well, I'll let you go with yours first. I'll let you do yours and then I'll do mine.
It's just so hard because you can't drop one of Lavia, Caicedo, and Enzo, because they're just all three of them in such good form. So for me, I've got to stick with Caicedo at least for the first half as the inverted right back. Then have Enzo and Lavia as the two midfielders. I think it was quite telling that Tosin and Dasasi were the starting centre backs yesterday, which probably means Badiashile and Levi Colwill will stick as the two centre backs against Brentford. And then Cucurella, the left back. If we're doing our preferred one, we obviously both want Jorgensen in goal, don't we? But it will be.
It's going to be Sanchez. Yeah, let's be. Yeah, I would love Jorgensen, but I can't see him playing in the Astana, flying back 8 hours and then playing again on Sunday. It's unrealistic.
No. Like everybody who comments on our Instagram posts saying like Sanchez is starting, it's our preferred 11s. I like to remind you that. It's not predicted 11s.
I got a lot of crap from a couple of people saying, why have you got Jorgensen? It's like, because it's what I want to see, not what I think will happen. Yeah. It's my preferred 11. But yeah, I agree.
Maresca will thank us one day if he listens to these, and
he will
assist every day with Jorgensen.
He could end up thanking us and putting us on the coaching team. You never know.
After I predicted Vega and Guiu before, I feel like there's some kind of like.
There's a role somewhere. There's a role for you somewhere at Cobham.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and then front kind of line would be it'll be I think Palmer 10, Sancho, Madueke. I don't know actually. because Mudrik's still probably not fit, or he's still recovering.
Yeah, he's got an illness, I think. So some illness if he's
Yeah.
out for a good week.
Could be COVID for
Mm.
Neto's suspended,
Yeah, so he can't play.
Yeah, I think it will be Madueke, but I wouldn't. I would like to see Nkuku or Joao Felix in some capacity in this game and shift Palmer on the wing.
So who's on your left? Are you playing? Oh, I put the wrong person in. Where's Madueke? Here he is. So are we saying Joao Felix on the left?
Yeah, was Sancho? It's got to be Sancho.
Ah,
after his
Sancho.
performance
Sorry,
against
yeah.
Spurs, yeah.
Forget about. I
I think
always forget he's there.
Sancho, yeah, Sancho will be the starter, and it's whether we go with Nkuku Felix instead of Madueke or.
I don't think Maresca fancies Nkunku as much as the fans fancy. Well, say the fans, me fancies Nkunku to start these games because there's been opportunity to play him. I even think back to the Spurs game last week. There was opportunity to play him, and he just doesn't really bring him on, or he doesn't play him. I don't know. For me, he should be one of those players that should be first name on the team sheet, just because we know what he can do.
Absolutely, and even like when Jackson or the others aren't scoring, Nkuku and he gets brought on in like the 83rd minute or something. So,
question mark whether he stays in the summer. There's a big question mark.
True. Yeah. Then Jackson as the striker, and I'm not sure you saw his reaction to being subbed off.
I didn't like that. Not from Jackson. I didn't like the fact that it was being recorded.
Yeah, it felt like he was going through something. He must have had like a sudden. His emotions just took over, maybe.
So he had a bad game. Yeah, he did have a poor game.
I think, in his head as well, he probably wants to recreate that performance he had against Tottenham last season. Being in the same stadium, kind of being the starting striker, and he just couldn't replicate that, and maybe he just felt like he deceived the fans or underperformed. But I think given how we feel like he's improved his game this year, I expect him to bounce back against Brentford and our upcoming fixtures.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing that from anyone, but more so him, because I think it shows you that he's committed. He wants to be greedy. He wants more goals. He wants to do all these things. So, no, I'm all for that. I want to see those emotions. I just don't like it being spread across social media and all the rest of it. And I think whoever's recording it's giving him a bit of shit as well. So,
for those who don't know what happened, he was seen crying.
Context.
He was seen crying on the bench for 5 minutes after, with his head tucked into his jacket. So yeah, definitely very, very emotional, and like you said, it's just not nice to just record a grown man feeling that way, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just. Well, I mean, thankfully we got the 3 points, but from an individual perspective, I'm sure he'll bounce back. I would actually keep him in the squad. My only changes, as you know, I'm going to do this already. You know what I'm going to do. I am going to swap Madueke for Palmer. It won't. The squad you've got is probably going to be the squad we go with 100%. But I'm actually going to not bring on Nkunku because I don't think he'll start. But I think Joao Felix in the 10. I want to see Cole Palmer on that right side again, because I feel even if you think back to the Enzo goal last Sunday, it all started from the right with Cole Palmer.
Absolutely, and even I think was it Joao Felix who put in a great ball for Palmer against Southampton from one wing to the other in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, the two of them linked up really well against Southampton, and hopefully if Felix does start as the 10, they can replicate that partnership.
And that's that both, with Madueke also in the team, is still a very dangerous, threatening, frightening attacking front four for any defenders to come up against. So, but I do want to see Palmer from that right, because I feel like he offers a bit more. I think fullbacks would be a bit more mindful of going forward if they've got to know they've got to track back, because Cole Palmer's there as well. And like you said, Joao Felix for me is someone that just has to be, it's either him or Nkunku, that has to be brought into this team a bit more. And I'll be honest, I haven't really seen much from Madueke the last couple of games that's made me think he needs to be in this team. I don't see enough from him quality wise to make him be a starter in his team.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I like him. I think he's a good player. He's got a lot of potential, but he just needs to cut out this selfishness and kind of ego to what he does. So yeah, I'm kind of happy with that lineup and dropping Madueke to the bench.
We've agreed again on our lineup. I think it's twice in two episodes now. It's quite rare. Let's end up with our score predictions. I think you did say 1-0 at the start. So is that what you're sticking with, the 1-0?
I said there'd be just one goal in it between
Okay.
the two teams. So, yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea because, like you said, all those players who do have goals in them at Brentford, the Wissers, the Mbumos, the Damsgaards, the Norgards.
Yeah.
I think they've got a goal in them. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea. But I think if we go that lineup and the attacking quality we have, we should be able to get across the line.
I'm going to say 3-2. I think to Chelsea. I think both teams will attack. We're very bad defensively, as we know already. And as I said before, clean sheets. I think Brentford are 16th. They've kept 1 all season. So that for me is an indication that we can outscore Brentford. But as I said, defensively, we know, especially with Wesley Fofana missing, things can happen with Badia Shield at the back sometimes. So I'm going to go 3-2. And hope Liverpool lose.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. But who are you going to go for your pre-match graphic? I'll ask you this time.
Gosh, okay. Oh, I've already done it. I've already done it. I've done it already. I've gone for, I don't want to spoil it, but I've gone for Enzo and Palmer. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I think
they're on form, so yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I've gone for those two in there. So yeah, I think we'll get some goals at least if both of those are scoring. And as long as Cucurella's got his proper boots on this week, we should be okay.
I don't think Puma have been very happy with him.
No. I did hear that there's not that he's been dropped or anything, but I think he had to remove the post from Instagram just because of bad marketing. And obviously it's a sponsorship deal, isn't it? So it doesn't bode well for their boots.
It's not a good look for Puma right before Christmas. People probably wanting to buy that pair of boots.
Well, everyone's getting Predators by the looks of it now. So yeah, bit of a strange one. But no, thanks Theo, as always. Always a pleasure. Hopefully we get 3 points. If you're here afterwards, you're here after the live stream, make sure you like this video. You leave your thoughts below in the comments. Give us your predicted lineups as well. Share your thoughts on Casadei potentially going to Italy. Our hopes of Conference League glory as well. Episode 140, done and dusted. We'll be back next week with another episode. So thank you very much for listening or watching. And we'll be back soon. Enjoy the weekend when you get to it.